cross-court pass to Trey Smith. Trey from downtown, got it. Wants a screen, he'll go the other way, find AO. Aaron from downtown, got it. The Moose is loose.
Mid-center court with Charlie Ernst on 88.3 WLFC.
Tommy, left side, little stutter step, driving the lane, scoop the hoop, left hand, got it again. High ball screen, back top of the key, backdoor pass ahead, and slam it home. Alex White, that's his second slam.
Join Coach Ernst and the Oilers On Air team as they take a look back at the week that was, discuss what's happening around the conference, and preview the week ahead.
Oilers win it, and what a game here in Croy, and a tremendous victory for the Orange and Black.
And now, let's join men's basketball head coach Charlie Ernst and the voice of Oiler basketball, Jason Granger.
Hello and welcome to Center Court with Charlie Ernst. I'm Jason Granger, and right now I'm joined by the coach. And Coach, two successful ball games this week, a win over KWC on Thursday and then a win over Trevecca Nazarene on Senior Day.
Yeah, and on Thursday we did it shorthanded, without Aaron. So I think it shows you that, we've got other guys capable of stepping up. In this case it was an injury, but I think it also shows that, you're going to have foul trouble. Things are going to happen throughout a season, and you have to have your team prepared when the postseason rolls around to be able to handle about anything. And so maybe in some ways, not having Aaron and then having him on Saturday, but really in a kind of a minor role, I think allowed some of our other guys to take on additional responsibilities on the court. And not only did we perform well in those roles, but I thought we got two really good wins, convincing wins, which gives us a lot of momentum heading into the postseason.
And you got your 25th win on the season, and I'm sure it's got to be difficult to be able to step back and during the season and really enjoy what you have accomplished, because 25 wins in a season is a really high number. And then you add to the fact that you haven't got to the postseason yet. That starts on Tuesday. This is all done in the regular season.
Yeah, I'm really excited for our guys, and I made sure that we enjoyed the victory on Saturday and had some time to celebrate it on Saturday before we turned the page yesterday or on Sunday for practice. But I think that sometimes it's hard to enjoy wins throughout a season. It's hard to enjoy regular season championships because the postseason starts so quickly. So I wanted to make sure our guys understand that. Maybe some people around here take it for granted. We certainly don't. We understand the hard work that goes into it. It starts 9 months before the moment the season before ends. The next one begins. So it's a lot of work and a lot of sacrifice. And I think the culmination of that was a 25-win regular season. You can't ask for a whole lot more from this group. And, really, I think our best is yet to come.
And what a weekend for your seniors, and especially Alex White, who goes for 53 points and 14 rebounds, a number of blocks, some assists. Just an unbelievable weekend for him, and he's playing his best basketball at the best time of year.
Well, he is, and be interesting here in the postseason to see, how teams handle him. The beauty of Alex is that he's a very good passer. At times I feel like he's maybe not necessarily passed it too much, but made the decision to pass too soon. And most of his turnovers have come in that fashion. So I think, the thing about Alex, he's very unselfish. He had 31 points, whatever he had on Saturday. Had a big night. I think he had 22 on Thursday. He's such a key guy to all of this. But the beauty of it all is that he's an excellent passer and a very unselfish player. So it'll be interesting to see how teams go about trying to stop him here in the postseason.
Well, you talked about, Moose not being able to be available for the Thursday game and just available a little bit on Saturday. But the good news that came out of that, it allowed some other guys to get more minutes. And, Chaz is just a sophomore, and he's been coming off the bench. And so it allowed him to maybe get out of his comfort zone a little bit and get his feet wet on being a starter.
Yeah, exactly. And Chaz has played a lot of minutes this year, starter minutes in some ways, and in some games, more than some of the starters. So I think he was more than capable. It actually probably, if there was a week to do it, has nothing to do with the records or placement of the teams we played, but more so the matchups. In Trevecca, you had a team that plays four guards, four guys 6'2" and under. And to be honest, the first time we played Trevecca, it was a little bit of a difficult matchup for Aaron. However, on the other hand, they had a hard time with him. So there's always two ways to look at it. But, starting Chaz at the 4 gave us the flexibility that we could guard and switch more things on the perimeter in both of those games. And I thought that was really important on Thursday, because in that key stretch in the second half, when we went on that big run and we forced a lot of turnovers and got some runouts, it was our defense that really got things rolling. And it was our ability to be aggressive, get deflections. We're a different team without a doubt on the defensive end. Not that we're any better or any worse, we're just different. We're more aggressive, we can force turnovers, and that was so important on Thursday night to get that win. And I think maybe having Chaz and Devin playing that position, and even we had Devin at the 5, made us a very aggressive defensive team.
I was just going to talk about the defense, because on Thursday I thought that in the second half especially, KWC struggled to just get the ball across half court, and it was just man-to-man pressure, and really did a great job of taking them out of what they wanted to do.
Well, it's interesting, just a few weeks into the season, Jason, when we realized, certainly right before Christmas, when we realized that our bench was going to be reduced to probably 3 guys, maybe a 4th, but more than likely Tommy and Trey. I had to talk with both of them, and I said, listen, we're going to have to change our pickup point. For the most part, we're going to have to become a quarter-court defensive team. And there were some growing pains there. For those guys especially, they're not wired for that. But it was the best thing for them over the long haul. Well, now that we're getting here to the end of the season, we have monitored their minutes. We have adjusted our practice times so that now we have an ability to get a little more aggressive. It's now or never. It's not about saving legs for 3 months from now. So, we might have a little bit in us to become a bit more disruptive than what we were in the regular season, and that's something we're looking at, and I thought we did a good job of that over the weekend.
Forced 20 turnovers on Thursday, 15 turnovers on Saturday, and then also I thought you got a good play from Ethan Linder, who continues to quietly come along, and Ethan comes in, he's knocking down threes, he's being much more athletic than I think maybe Findlay fans realize. He has the ability to be a good defender. I think his defense has improved, and then he can finish. Well,
his defense has improved tremendously, and his confidence continues to go up. Ethan's a kid that averaged nearly 30 points in high school, is a kid that we are just extremely excited about in terms of his future. He's a tremendous teammate. He's developing the grit it takes to play at this level and against the type of opponents we play against. And he just keeps getting better, and we don't miss a beat when we bring him in. And sometimes the challenge is trying to find him the minutes that he needs. And he's going to be an important guy here in the postseason. He's like I said, he's really improved on defense. He's allowed us to continue doing what we're doing on defense with no let-up. I think there's some things we can also do with him that we might, that we've been working on in practice that we might roll out here in the postseason.
I wanted to talk about a couple of milestones that the players were able to accomplish on Saturday, and we've had really good point guards here, and Tommy Schmock is becoming one of the great ones. And he's only a sophomore, and he got the most assists in the season. And I'm sure Dustin Pfeiffer's still kicking something down wherever he's at right now, because he's a really competitive guy. But that's a pretty impressive record to break.
Well, I thought for sure, Jason, that Dustin would shoot me a text over the weekend when he saw that. Dustin's a guy that stays in close contact, and, he's never at a loss for words. So I really anticipated that. But regardless, Tommy has just played his position and his role extremely well. He's a guy that takes a lot of pride, a lot of satisfaction in finding his teammates. I think maybe the most important thing outside of getting Moose healthy that came from the weekend was Tommy getting his three-point stroke back. More and more teams are kind of laying off Tommy. They're going to probably, in some teams, will double off of Tommy on Alex. But Tommy stepping up and not hesitating, making 4 threes, I believe, on Saturday. Can't remember if he made one on Thursday night or not. But his free throw shooting continues to improve here over the last couple weeks. So it's so important that we get Tommy shooting the ball well because we know what else he's capable of. And there's a lot in there from a passing standpoint, a defensive standpoint. When he can add that shooting element, boy, that gives him the full package.
It sure does. 4 of 5 from three-point range was Tommy Schmock on Saturday. And Alex White picks up his 1,000th point and then some in this ball game, on that ball game on Saturday. And I believe that was number 47 all-time in the record books. But what's phenomenal to me is Alex only played 11 games his sophomore year. He had 119 points his freshman year, a nice season with 317 his junior year. I mean, he's had one of the best senior seasons that any Oilers had. I mean, to score over 500 points and still have games to play is pretty outstanding.
Well, it is, and I've said this, and I think this is a feather in the cap to both of our seniors, and that is, not only are they two of our best scorers, obviously in Alex's case, he is our leading scorer, but on top of that, Alex has had a tremendous career as a rebounder, not just this year, but really his entire career. And then I think the cherry on top is that Alex, in my opinion, is truly one of the very best defenders in the league, regardless of position. It's not just because he blocks shots. He's got great instincts on defense. He knows when to help, great hands. I can't tell you how many times this year, it was on full display on Saturday, where he's out there defending ball screens and he gets a piece of a point guard's dribble. He's very good at that. And he can be a disruptive defender on top of everything he does on offense. So he's had a great senior year, and I feel like he is just picking up momentum quickly here. So I'm excited to see how he can cap off his senior year.
And your other senior, Trey Smith, has had a great year as well. And his story is really special. He just played 7 games as a freshman, only scored 5 points as his freshman year. Saw some more time his sophomore year, more his junior year, and again, his minutes each and every year go up. His scoring each and every year goes up, and what a tremendous job by Trey Smith.
Well, my only regret with Trey is that we didn't redshirt him as a freshman. But, he came in as a walk-on. We were still evaluating him. We don't normally redshirt walk-ons. But, boy, I'm not going to lie, by the end of his freshman year, I was already kicking myself, even though, as you mentioned, he only scored 5 points his freshman year. But I could already see the upside in this kid. And unfortunately, at that point, we had already played him in some games, and so the choice wasn't there. I've never wished an injury on anyone, but it might have been nice if he would have, broken an ankle or something at the end of the year, and we could have redshirted him. But because that's how much what I think of Trey and how much I love to have him in our program is not only his value on the court, but it's his competitive fire. In the off season, during open gyms, in the spring, he just brings a level of fire that I think helps raise everyone's competitiveness. And what a great career he's had. It's a great story. I'll be using his story in years to come.
Well, Trey Smith and Alex White, 2 seniors, and hopefully a lot more games to come. Where there's 2 victories this weekend. When we come back on Center Court, we'll preview the GMAC tournament on the home of the Oilers, 88.3 WLC.
Tom Key, kick out Stegmeyer. She'll shoot a 3. Got it.
Tuesday night, your Oiler women's basketball team hosts the Hillsdale Chargers in the GMAC quarterfinals.
Fricky line to lane. Throw it up with the right hand. Bucket's good. Dana Fricky.
Jason Granger will have all the action from Croy Physical Education Center. Pregame at 5:10, tip-off at 5:30.
Send inside to Hintz. Hintz turn faced up the right hand. Got it.
This is your home for Lady Oiler Tournament Basketball, 88.3 WLFC.
Chances are there'll never be an emergency ever again. But just in case, let's talk about a plan.
Okay.
Who is going to grab the go bag?
What's a go bag? It is a bag we do not have that is filled with things we really, really need in an emergency.
Guess we won't have to worry about it then.
Well, this is great. I am so glad that we don't have a plan.
I know.
Winging it is not an emergency plan. Make sure your kids know what to do during an emergency. Who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone, let's all stop what we're doing and take a moment. You see? Every moment can be kind of special. But they could be loud moments, goofy moments, dorky moments, it doesn't matter. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's take a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
This message is for all of you sitting in the passenger seat. And apologies if it gets a little uncomfortable, but how does it feel to be at the mercy of someone who thinks a random text is more important than your life? Someone who takes their eyes off the road while speeding along in a 3-ton hunk of steel. Freaky, right? Well, why not just ask them to stop? Or better yet, volunteer to text for them. It might be a little awkward, but believe me, you'll live.
Learn more at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Cross-court pass to Trey Smith. Trey from downtown got it.
Tuesday night, your Oiler men's basketball team hosts the Alderson Broadus Battlers in the GMAC quarterfinals.
Tommy, left side, little stutter step, driving the lane, scoop the hoop, left hand, got it again.
Jason Granger will have all the action from Croy Physical Education Center. Pre-game at 7:10, tip-off at 7:30.
Aaron from downtown, got it. The Moose is loose.
This is your home for Oiler Tournament Basketball, 88.3 WLFC.
Welcome back to Center Court. Continuing to talk with the coach of the Oilers, Coach Charlie Ernst. And Coach, GMAC tournament time, and we are the number 1 seed, which gives us a home game and an opportunity, if we can win on Thursday, to host the rest of the tournament. And it's a big opportunity for this team.
Huge opportunity. We understand how important home court is. Obviously, last year, we had a hiccup there. So I think our focus, and I've talked with the team about this first thing on Sunday when we met and before practice and video, that I think that sometimes the temptation when people ask you, and a lot of these guys communicate via social media, is all about the ring and winning the tournament championship, and that's important. That's the goal. But I think sometimes you can put the cart in front of the horse, and I think it's important that we just focus like we have all season long. After we beat Hillsdale on the road, we prior to that game, we didn't talk about the GMAC championship. We didn't talk about winning the regular season. We talked about beating Hillsdale. And then after we did that, we still didn't talk about the GMAC regular season. We talked about beating Lake Erie. And then after Lake Erie, we talked about beating Ohio Dominican. And really, nothing's changed. Right now, our talk is about beating Alderson Broadus. And then if we're fortunate enough to get that win, then we'll talk about our next opponent. And we're not going to talk about winning the tournament championship because the teams are too good in this league. And I think our guys will do a great job of preparing and focusing on AB. But it does feel great to have the number 1 seed and have it at home. And
Alderson Broadus, an interesting team. We played them at their place, won 92-75, and just a huge game for Trey Smith and Alex White. They really led the way, and it was probably one of our best offensive performances in that ball game, and it seemed like everything went right for us over there. Well, it did. Now, to be honest, and I've told people, a lot of our fans aren't familiar with AB for good reason. We've only played them once each of the last 2 years, and we played them rather early in the season both years. Last year it was before Christmas, and this year it was our first trip after the New Year. And so I think it was 16 games ago since we played them. They're an athletic group. They've had some changes in their lineup, a lot of fallout. I truly believe at the time it was our best game of the season. It's certainly our best road game of the season. I thought we played a complete game. We knew we were going to need to have one in that game. Alex, I remember both of our seniors being tremendous. I remember Trey not only shooting the ball extremely well, but he guarded Mike Davis, AB's best player, and really frustrated him most of the day. And then, of course, Alex was as aggressive as I've ever seen Alex play in that game. Around the basket, going to the glass. He did a little bit of everything. And so it was a picture-perfect day when you talk about seniors leading you on the road in a big game. They both did a great job of that on that day. Well, Alderson brought us a different team, as you mentioned today. You look at the names that are there when we played them, and some of them aren't there. Brandon Simmons, I'm not sure if he's still on the roster or not. He hasn't played, I believe, since we played him. And when you take him out of the lineup, they're rather small. Well, they are. That's their biggest issue. Is they had to move Malik Bocook, who's not. He's a strong player, very strong.
but he's only about 6'4", so that'll be an interesting matchup there and just for them. But they've been doing this for the last 16 games, as being a little bit outmanned inside. They just battle. They become a perimeter-oriented team, and obviously, but Brandon Simmons was a big 6'8", 200 and some pounder inside athletic kid, and as you mentioned, his last game was our game. And losing them, I knew that would affect them, and I think it has. But to be honest, give them a lot of credit. They found a way to persevere with a lineup that's mostly a guard-oriented team. They do have a couple 6'5" wings in Palenko and Shriver, tall wings that kind of help, provide some size inside. But really, both those guys, especially Shriver, is strictly a perimeter player. Palenko will try to go in and around the basket a little bit, but they're like I said, they're an athletic bunch. They're going to try to isolate us on the perimeter, beat us off the dribble, get us into drive and kick. So we've got to be really stout one-on-one defenders in this game.
And the three-point shooting is something that they'll do a lot of. Took 23s against us the last time out. The Campbell kid can shoot it. You mentioned Shriver. He can shoot it. They got a number of guys that can get hot in a hurry.
Well, that's certainly probably the strength of their team now that they've gotten to be a little bit smaller. Campbell had a heck of a shooting day. To be honest, he kind of kept them in the game that day. And of course, Mike Davis is their top offensive player. He's really improved his three-point shooting since we played him. He's mostly been a pull-up jump shooter most of his career. But then on top of that, obviously, their center, Bocook, will step out and look for threes. They got a guard, a redshirt freshman named Tyler Golphin, who's a nice player, athletic guard that will also look for threes. It's kind of what they've done, is try to spread you out and then use their athleticism to break down your defense. So like I said, I think individual matchups will be very important in this game.
Well, and you talk about our team with Alex and Aaron Overheiser, both at 6'7". That's an advantage, having them on the floor and be able to go inside. But then also it can make things difficult on the other side of things when you have to try to guard these guys.
Well, yeah, that's always a challenge, and we've had that challenge a little bit all year long. But we've improved. Darren's improved. He's mostly spent a lot of his season. It'd be interesting if you did a breakdown of minutes defensively on the year, how many of those minutes he has spent guarding perimeter-oriented players and how many of those minutes he spent guarding post players. I think what you'd find is 2/3 of those minutes he's on the perimeter. So over the course of time, he's gotten better out there. He's more aware, understands that he can't get stuck in the paint. He's got to follow the same rules, that Tommy and Trey follow. He's got to do it a little differently, but he's gotten better, and as he has, I think that's really helped us on the defensive end.
One of the interesting things, and you and I have talked throughout the season about this, about our home court advantage. I think over the years, we used to have a huge advantage at home. I think we still do, but teams kind of thrive. They love to come to Findlay, and I think we'll see the same type of thing at Alderson Broaddus. Here's a team at 13-15, and they kind of had to fight and claw to get into that 8th spot, and they really don't have anything to lose coming over here.
They've been a very up and down team. Now, a year ago when we played them, they were a very different team, a lot of different faces. They came here in the regular season and played really good. We had to really battle for that one. This is a new group of guys. Most of these guys have never been here. They probably are coming in very loose. Their last game was a good one for them, so they're in a good frame of mind, probably in practice this week. They will have a spirited week of practice and preparation, and so these teams can be a little bit dangerous. They have nothing to lose, and I'll tell you, they've got the kind of players that, in that mindset, they can be dangerous. So our preparation has got to be spot on this week. We cannot take anything for granted. I really don't think we will.
I wanted to finish the segment just talking about the GMAC as a whole. I think coming in, you thought that this was going to be a very competitive year, and I think it was. And schedule maybe a little unbalanced for some teams. That's probably a conversation for another day. But, Walsh loses all the guys they lose. You could make an argument they lost some guys just as important as our guys, and they had a better season this year. Hillsdale lost a ton. They had another good year. Now other teams are starting to come along in the conference.
Well, yeah, I think probably Walsh is a big surprise. They were expected to be probably the best team in the league because they had all their guys back. Well, a couple of those guys defected in the offseason, so they've had to rely on either some freshmen or some new guys. And so for them to have the season they've had is probably a little bit of a surprise to some, probably even including Jeff. So they've had a great year. In fact, there's another team. We have not played them in a long time. So that'll be – but they're on the other side of the bracket. If we're fortunate enough to play them, that means we both advance to Saturday. So, I think overall it was a good league, I think, or a good season for the league. Some teams really performed well out of conference. I think our strength in the league are those teams that are kind of like from a regional standpoint, like 9 through 14. We have a lot of teams, or 8 through 14, that are in that pile, probably 4 or 5 teams. And so while maybe there's not another team maybe other than Hillsdale that's right up there at the top of the region, we maybe have more teams in the top 15 in the region than any of the 3 leagues. So I think there's been great balance in this league. It'll probably make for a really good tournament.
All right, Coach. Well, it'll be a doubleheader. The women play at home at 5:30 on Tuesday. We'll have pregame at 5:10, and then the men at 7:30. It'll be a big matchup against Alderson Broadus. Coach, best of luck.
All right. Thanks, Jason.
All right, that's head coach Charlie Ernst. Want to remind Oiler fans, get out early and often. It's fill up Croy and have a great atmosphere against Alderson Broadus on Tuesday. For the coach Charlie Ernst, I'm Jason Granger. You've been listening to Center Court.
Tommy, left side, little stutter step, driving the lane, scoop the hoop, left hand, got it again.
Thank you for listening to Center Court with Charlie Ernst.
Once the screen, he'll go the other way, find AO. Aaron from downtown, got it. The Moose is loose.
Join us every Tuesday night during the season for your connection to Coach Ernst and Oiler men's basketball.
Oilers win it, and what a game here in Croy, and a tremendous victory for the Orange and Black.
This is your home for Oiler men's basketball, 88.3 WLFC.